It's funny when you can just say, I need a Duke, and the video game guy knows you're talking about the original Xbox controller. I had to bring it. It is absurd.
Oh my God, I haven't held one of these in so long. It is awful.
You have to be a grown man.
You have to be a grown man.
I felt like you could kill somebody with it.
You had to have gorilla hands to work with this thing. It was the industry's biggest game controller.
The Duke controller was like a newborn baby. I mean, the thing is like 9 pounds, 3 ounces. You had to kind of hug it.
I don't like the controller.
Welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the iKnowBadeaux podcast, coming at you from the Slice on Oak Studios. I am Mayor Dave Badeaux, the city of Brandon. With me, as always, is my brother.
It's only good if only I get it.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, Gabriel Johnson's back.
Good to be back, Dave.
It's good to have you back.
Thank you.
Although I will say, in your stead, Tim Severson, did an excellent job.
It was a good episode. It
was a very good episode. If you haven't checked that out, go check out the last week's episode 283, where we talked about nothing but the movie League of Extraordinary Gentlemen for an hour and a half.
Well, see you later.
The movie is only 2 hours. We went an hour and a half. Gabriel Johnson, how are you?
I'm doing well.
So you were on a trip. You went down to Nolans.
Down to the Big Easy.
Okay. How would it go? See La Badeaux?
It went well. We did a cemetery tour, and I was looking everywhere for a Badeaux.
Couldn't find
I had
it.
a lot of O's, no Badeaux.
No, maybe some Thibodeaux, maybe Labadoux.
Yeah, a lot of those. No German O's.
No.
We're just French.
Yeah, we're the German O's. We're the northern O's. Those are the southern O's. Had a good time, though?
It was great.
All right, should we get started, though?
Let's do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Be Kind Rewind. 2001. Now, right when we get started here, I just want to say that 2001 is a year that I love, mostly because I graduated high school. Mm-hmm. Gabriel Johnson, same.
I did.
Yeah. Actually got your diploma?
Yeah.
So it went well for both of us. But a lot of fond memories of that year because you're coming at the end. Of
It's the best time to come.
Yeah, not at the beginning. You come at the beginning, it ruins everybody's day.
You know what? I'm going to say this. It was high school, so we probably were coming at the beginning and then hoping to fight through it.
Well, did he come or what?
Stick around, people. This is going to get more fun. So the end of our high school year, right?
Right,
So,
and as seniors, you have gotten most of your credits
nothing to do.
done, so
Yep.
you're basically just sitting around. And we still had an open campus back then, so we could come and go.
Yep, and we did.
And we came.
And we went. But just a real fun time because then after you graduate, then you get that whole summer where you got to kind of dick around and figure out what you want to do before life kind of hits you right afterwards. So
Yeah.
real fun time. But should we get started right away with the soundtrack of our lives? This is the music of the year 2001. And we're going to do something a little different this time around. Because last episode 283, go check it out, featuring Tim Talks.
Good episode.
Good episode. All about the movie League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. People are saying.
Many people.
But if you haven't listened to that episode yet, what you're going to want to do is watch the whole thing and then hang out for the bonus footage. Because our friend Scott Badeaux here pulled a Gabe Johnson through the whole episode. So there's an Easter egg through the entire episode that is all Sum 41 related.
Yes.
So for music for the year 2001, we're going to talk about the band Sum 41. Scott, take it away, because you went heavy on Sum 41 in the last episode.
Well, I couldn't help it because one of the actors looks exactly like the lead singer of Sum 41.
And you are not wrong.
I mean, exactly. They could be twins.
Could be twins. If you did the Jeremy, what is it? Jeremy and who? The Londons? Jeremy and Jason London?
Yeah, totally.
It could absolutely be the case. Looks exactly like the actor Sean something.
Shane West.
Shane West.
Yeah.
So talk about it. Sum 41. Interesting band to start talking about an entire year on.
Right.
However, it was kind of a hit, kind of a big deal in 2001.
I mean, the album's called All Killer, No Filler, and
Yes.
it is all killer, no filler. So long as you like this style of music. it's a kind of a turning point in like the punk and pop punk. Like this is really when pop punk really starts becoming kind of popular, and you start seeing it in all the American Pie movies and all that stuff. That's like the main soundtrack to those movies is music like Sum 41's All Killer No Filler.
Yeah, the new millennium is interesting. We talked about this in 2000. The new millennium is interesting because it really did change things. Like year 2000 starts and things completely change.
Yeah.
And I would absolutely agree that this becomes the soundtrack of a decade almost.
At least 2001 to 2006.
I was going to say 7, but I'll take
2006 or 2007.
Sure,
There's a 5 to 6 year period there where this really booms.
Yeah. So you kept bringing up Sum 41 in the last episode. So as I was editing, I just like, okay, let's listen to some Sum 41. I sent a text to you. They're kind of fucking whale, dude.
Yeah.
They're kind of fucking good.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at that album. I knew the hits.
Right.
You know, and now I know the names of the hits.
Yeah,
thanks to Scott.
Because I listed every one of them.
Because you fucking listed every single one of them.
Because you don't know us at all. We left with no people for.
The drummer
Yes.
in this band, the original drummer, I think he was only on for the first 2, maybe the first 3 albums.
Okay. Well, he was predominant.
Yeah. He is incredible.
Yeah.
If you could listen to this album just to listen to the drums, because he is just, there's so much energy and it's just nonstop fills.
Sure. Yeah.
It's a lot of fun to listen to.
Do you know where he went afterwards?
I think he became a real estate agent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's funny you say that because he feels very much like one of the members of Jackass, the guy that was.
Yeah. Well, his name is Steve-O.
Kind of reminds me of Steve.
No, he reminds me of the guy. I think his name was Brandon. That was in like CKY, and then just towards the end, just stopped doing it and just went and had a normal life.
Sure.
It's like, oh, you can do that,
Right.
And so to find out that that's what he did.
Yeah. He got tired of the touring and the partying
Yeah.
and was having children at home, and it happens.
And watching some of their videos, he was a little bit ruckus. So
he's a drummer.
yeah.
He's a wild drummer.
And he definitely plays that role. But I can see that in listening to some of their music, because I just put it on, play through the discography. And as it goes, their sound definitely changes.
Oh, they completely changed.
Yeah.
They go from, because even in one of the songs, they say maiden and priest were the gods that we praised.
Yep.
And so they completely changed from this pop punk style to more of a heavier rock.
Absolutely.
And that's when I stopped listening.
Yeah.
Because I like the pop punk.
Which we'll bring it up, but it starts to sound almost exactly like Linkin Park, which also came out this year. We'll talk about them in just a second. We matched them up as a head-to-head. We called it a mosh match, which I liked. And Linkin Park blew them out of the water. However, I would say that when you get towards the end of their discography, they sound exactly like Linkin Park, almost to the point where I don't think I would be able to distinguish between the two other than hits.
Sure.
Right? But what was your favorite song from Sum 41?
Oh, boy.
I think the one that you would remember is Fat Lip.
Yeah, everybody knows Fat Lip
Yes.
or In Too Deep. Those are their 2 big hits. But so there's an introduction
To
title,
Destruction?
Introduction to Destruction.
Yeah.
It was just a little intro.
I should have caught on right at that one.
Yeah, I know. Every time I said something that was just because it always had to come out of left field, and every time I said it, and just watch you try to roll with it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes,
You're so
got away with it.
You're so
got another
fucking
one.
stupid because I was like, you can watch my brain try to process. Like, there was a lot of me just going,
Yeah, okay, yeah, rhythms. Parappa the Rapper.
sure, dummy.
Parappa the Rapper.
Yeah, just go back and watch it. I'm sorry, not to make people listen to an hour and a half long episode before listening to this episode.
But it's so hard to pick a song off this album because, like I said, it's all killer, no filler. Never Wake
Very
Up.
good.
Or sorry, Nothing on My Back
Yep.
is basically the title track or the intro song after the introduction.
Yep.
That's probably the song that I listen to the most.
Okay. I found it really interesting. We also have a show coming up from Canada. As a kid, because we live pretty close to Canada, my brother went on a fishing trip with my grandpa where they had to fly into Canada, and he came back, and all he talked about was ketchup and dill pickle chips. At the time, you couldn't get dill pickle chips in the States.
Really?
No, and so this was probably late 90s
Okay.
when he did that. Dill pickle chips could not get them in the States, and he came back and he was talking about the two chips. He's like, ketchup chips and dill pickle chips. They've tried ketchup chips here in the States, and they haven't went anywhere. I was surprised at this show that we're going to watch. They didn't talk about all dressed chips because that's the very Canadian thing. However, there was one line in Sum 41 that I was like, oh God, now like retroactively I know what it is because I've watched Letterkenny, and he says, as kids we were skids. And I've heard that song 1,000 times and it just never put two and two together. And then as soon as they said it, my first hearing of it, after understanding what a skid was, I was like, oh, it's very Canadian of you.
What's a skid?
Druggy.
Like, a skid mark. You know? That's how I would.
You're a shit stain?
Yeah, you're a shit stain. You're like,
yeah, I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah. Not necessarily goth because I think it bled more through other things, but yeah, just
it's gothy, potheady, counterculture.
One of the kids that are left behind, you know, like your parents are probably pretty high right now, and you guys are just hanging out by yourselves.
Sure.
That's kind of how it comes across to me. Yeah, I thought that was really funny listening to that. I was like, oh yeah, you guys are very Canadian.
Hey.
Yeah, was that all boot?
Fuck you, buddy.
Let's go from them real quick. Sum 41, a lot of fun. I like that sound. I like that it does kind of move forward. Because even when you get to like the Admiral Lavignes of the world, at least that's better than Britney Spears. Like not necessarily better, but at least it's
a little bit.
A little bit, isn't it?
Bit. Yes.
Is it?
Yeah. I think it is.
A little bit.
A little bit.
A little bit.
I think it is.
Except for Britney Spears is Toxic. That song's great.
And Britney Spears is pretty hot. Crazy. But crazy's kind of hot. So Linkin Park was the other one, Hybrid Theory, another album that people really, really enjoy. I was never big into Linkin Park. I'm not big into the rap included into the
I remember
rock.
you hated Sum 41 initially because they had a tiny little bit of rap.
It's shitty rap though.
Well, yeah.
Like
it's white Canadian rap.
Yeah.
And not that other guy.
Yeah, once we got past that, there was like, oh yeah, they just kind of played. It's slightly ska-ish, very
so you
punkish.
didn't like Nelly in 2001?
So I'm not saying I don't like rap. I don't like rap rock. So Limp Bizkit was a great example. Like at first, Limp Bizkit was just crazy hard, and then they started going, keep rolling. Get the fuck out of here. Get all of that shit out of here. Linkin Park was kind of more of that. And so I was not huge into them, but they have some very, very catchy songs.
Yeah, Linkin Park has grown on me over the years. I
agree.
didn't much care for them as a kid.
Yeah.
But over the years, I've started to like them a lot more. There's like Linkin Park and the band Korn.
Yeah, Korn is another one.
I didn't really like Korn, but now I kind of actually like Korn.
Yeah,
and like the Red Hot Chili Peppers are just steadily declining for me.
We should be careful about saying that because I got some friends that love the Red Hot Chili Peppers. I kind of am there with you on the Red Hot Chili Peppers a little bit, where they sound, I hate to say this, but they're kind of the Rolling Stones to me a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I'm just kind of.
It's a good comparison.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Speaking of rap rock.
Yeah.
Also, the lead singer's a creep.
Of which one?
Yes.
The Chili Peppers.
Oh, yeah. Does that surprise you?
No, not at all.
No. You said music videos, though, super fast. You had said that music videos from this time frame are the shittiest.
They were. I watched 15 or 20.
Mm-hmm.
I just did what I did. Did 2001 music on YouTube, and I just watched a list of music videos, and they are all really fucking bad.
So I think this is interesting because it's very similar to when music videos first started in the early 80s. Like in the early 80s, it was like very art house. People were just...
They were very good.
Well, but not... The ones you remember are good, but you got to remember, for everyone that you remember, there was a dude from NYU with a camera filming a pile of dog shit with, some band playing over top of it.
That beats the one Scott showed me.
It does absolutely beat it. But I think this time frame here is interesting because this is when the cameras became more available. So you get your Jackass type stuff, but now these guys are able to go make music videos that without as big of a budget. So I think your budget's kind of exploded, and then maybe on your high end music that keeps going through this time frame, because this is music video heaven right here. Everyone's got a music video for everything.
Oh yeah, this is TRL.
Yes, this is TRL. You are absolutely correct. But I don't foresee all bands having the creative license to make, a beautiful art house music video.
Right, but even a band like U2 was releasing music videos at this time, and they're just so stupid.
Yeah, but
I don't know if U2's had a good music video.
Yeah, U2 is also pretty stupid.
But they got a lot of money.
They got a lot of money.
You'd think somebody could. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was very cringe.
Is this Beautiful Day time frame? When did Beautiful Day come out?
That might have been they released an album in 01.
Yeah, it's got to be Beautiful Day, right? Right around that time.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
2000, 2001. So I'm right there with you, absolutely. U2 is one that I always appreciated that people loved U2. Like in the 90s, people were like, from the 80s, U2. There's
Yeah,
U2.
Joshua Tree. You got to listen to it.
You got to listen to it. And I was always like, you can.
It's okay.
Yeah,
it's music.
It's
I don't
fine.
I don't shut it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other one, so the music videos are trash, but I'm going to say, and we can't get out of this without talking about the fact that Stained came out with their third album, I believe.
No, it was their third.
I believe
They have
it
that
was.
many.
I think this was kind of the end.
I think it was like Stained first.
Stain's first one had Mud Shovel on it because I loved that fucking song. And I don't remember what it's called, what the actual album is called. So it's definitely not that one, but I'm pretty sure this is either the second or the third album from Stained.
Yeah, they were shit.
But it's been a while. Yeah, and there it has.
Yeah.
We can't get past. We play that so many times that we can't just gloss
been a
over
while.
the fact that it's been a while since it's been a while. And then Gabe, you had the final one here. You had one more that you wanted from the year 2001.
Yeah, the Grammy-winning album for the best contemporary folk album of the year was Bob Dylan's "Love and Theft." So great album, won a Grammy. Mm-hmm. I don't know any of the songs on it or anything, but it was released on September the 11th in 2001.
Oh, it was.
It was.
How were the sales?
Did they
Certified
did they
gold.
plummet?
I'd say it would have started. It would have a rough start. How people not running out to get. Hey, did you pick up that Bob Dylan today? Did you hear the new Bob Dylan today?
I imagine his
it's
publicist was a little upset about other events in the world.
Yeah, you know what's big in the news today? Bob Dylan.
Hey, I know there's a lot of things going on, but Bob Dylan.
The new Bob Dylan album.
Has Bob Dylan ever released an album and not won the Grammy for best folk?
He's only won a couple times, really.
That surprises me.
A lot less harmonica on this one, I think. In 2001, we better be less harmonica.
Probably.
I would hope so. But folk says harmonica to me. If you say folk, and I go, that's either banjo or harmonica. You better have one or the other. Otherwise, what is folk?
Storytelling.
Yeah, it's campfire. It's campfire music.
Out of here. The fuck out of here. I love titles of music like that. It's like alternative.
From what?
Yeah.
Alternative rap? Alternative country?
Yeah. But he releases an album. And that brings us right into the news. And I think we're just going to dedicate the entire news segment to
Bob Dylan.
To Bob Dylan. To 9/11.
It's 8:52 here in New York. I'm Bryant Gumbel. We understand that there has been a plane crash on the southern tip of Manhattan. You're looking at the World Trade Center. We understand that a plane has crashed into the World Trade Center. We don't know anything more than that. We don't know if it was a commercial aircraft. We don't know if it was a private aircraft. We have no idea how many were on board or what the extent of the injuries are right now. We have, I understand, an eyewitness on the phone right now. Did you hear the explosion from your position?
Yes, we did. As a matter of fact, we heard it, and because I was just like standing there pretty much looking out the window, I didn't see what caused it or if there was an impact.
So you have no idea right now?
There's another one. Another plane just hit. Right. Oh, my God. Another plane has just hit. It hit another building. Flew right into the middle of it. Explosion. My God, it's right in the middle of the building.
This one into the East Tower?
Yes, right in the middle of the building. And right now, that was definitely looked like it was on purpose.
9/11 happened.
And Gabe, I'm going to give this one to you.
All right.
Because sometimes when we talk about the news, there's bombs.
Mm-hmm. And this one, they use an airplane to be a bomb. Multiple airplanes.
I shouldn't laugh, but they did. That's a good reference.
I just want to back it up a little bit.
Okay.
Look at the background of this.
Okay.
Goes back to Desert Storm.
Yes.
When we were fighting in Kuwait. And some people in Afghanistan learned that we had freedom. And they got so fucking angry. that they decided to hate us for our fucking freedoms.
Fucking thing sucks!
That they sent airplanes into our biggest building. Yeah. It was a tragedy.
Because we have freedoms.
Look at those. Oh, man. They can buy 18 different kinds of cola.
Yeah. And Afghanistan's it's an interesting geographic area. Mm-hmm. It's just rocky as all fucking hell, dude. It is interesting that we did later on find that Afghanistan has the largest deposit of lithium in the entire world.
Oh yeah, whoops!
So that was an interesting little tidbit that just got discovered and just glossed over. I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about that since I saw it, and it might not even be true. Maybe I dreamt it, but I was like watching a news conference, it's like, it's the biggest deposit of lithium. It's like,
who's gonna want that?
Imagine that. It's a good thing we already conquered that. Gave it back now, but an interesting area that just rocky, very barren in terms of like, you're not, it ain't a forest.
Well, when we were over there at war, they had fighting seasons.
Yes.
Like in the winter, they were stuck in the mountains because there was so much snow and you couldn't get anywhere because they don't have plows or anything.
Yeah, and this season
they had to wait for spring to come down and fight.
Yeah.
In fighting season, then go back up during winter.
Do they have drafts in the off season? They draft their new characters or their new players. And what people probably don't even think about, and this is what's interesting about American policy, is that we armed the Afghans against the Russians. Mm-hmm. That couldn't possibly be something that's going to happen right now, right? We couldn't possibly be reliving this at all.
We wouldn't be arming somebody who might be hostile to us in the future. We would never do that again.
We would never do that ever as Americans. We've never done this. We'll never do it again. But we armed the Afghans, and then they turned out to hate freedom.
They hated us for our freedom, man. I was told that.
But let's actually get into like the 9/11 part of it, and I know we're a nostalgia podcast that likes to make fun of things. So if you're offended by us making fun of 9/11, I'm sorry. It's been a while. It's been a while. I think we can let a few things go. But it is interesting that in this time frame, so we had just graduated. I was working on a golf course, doing like golf course maintenance. I was like digging holes and cutting grass. And I came back in around lunch, and one of my supervisors was just staring at the TV and like motionless staring at the TV. And it was such a bizarre thing to have happen. And it's weird that people say that. Do you remember where you were when this happened? But it really defined where things go moving forward, because it is, do you remember where you were when that happened? Mm-hmm. And it totally changed the life of everything for 20 years.
It was a turning point for America, just for historical purposes. I mean, we passed so many laws that allowed the government to spy on foreign nationals and now nationals and political opponents, and we're a different country now than we were in the 90s.
And very interesting.
Because of 9/11.
Because someone hated freedom.
They hated it.
And bombed our freedom.
So we took away our freedom.
So we said, no more. We're going to tone down the freedom, guys. If we don't tone down this freedom, we're going to keep getting attacked.
Maybe we shouldn't have our two beacons of freedom. Also very interesting. So they fly two planes into the World Trade Center. The crazy thing about it was the first one flies into it, and then people are just filming it from every angle. Mm-hmm. So the second one that hits, there's all this footage of the second one hitting. And you can be a conspiracy theorist about this, and you may not be wrong.
On fire can't melt steel.
On some of it, you may not be wrong. I'm not going to get into whether you are or aren't. There's definitely weird things that happen throughout that day, right? And then subsequent days.
Like a building across the street falls down.
Yeah. What happened to Tower 7?
Yeah. Tower 7's an interesting one. Building 7. Not quite a tower. But it is interesting that because of how many people had cameras on them, so there's so much footage of that second thing happening. But just as a society, we shifted into this mode of yay patriotism that then took away our freedoms.
Yeah, go us.
Yes.
Yeah, you can look at all my shit all the time.
Don't even worry about it.
I've got nothing to hide.
I mean, I'm not a terrorist.
You're either with us or against us, Dave.
But it's such a weird thing to have happen that it really did. Like, honestly, I remember coming back and just looking at a guy that was it's so funny in retrospect. The guy was probably like 24 years old, you know, like my eyes. And it's like, that's my boss. And he's just staring at the TV, not moving. And you're like, what is going on? He's like, they bombed you. And I was like, no, they didn't.
We're under attack.
Yeah, I didn't believe that at all. And then it just turned into this long ordeal with Iraq and whatnot. But all because we decided that we should arm people against other countries.
I think it was because of crystal clear Pepsi.
Probably. Yeah, that's the freedom that went too far. Crystal clear, they have taken away the color of cola. Well, can you imagine if you're someone that lives in an area where your water's a little murky, and then all of a sudden they've got fucking cola that's clear. You can't even get water that's clear. God, we sound really, that's a terrible thing to say, but it's true. Like if you've ever had a well, you know, water don't come up clean all the time. But finish out the 9/11. Take us through whatever else there is to experience from that event that really does define the year 2001.
I mean, it was a rush to war in Afghanistan, even though the hijackers were all Saudis, right? And then that just further led to the war fever for years, where a couple of years later we invaded Iraq and we're still dealing with that. We finally left Afghanistan, a couple of years ago?
And it didn't go well.
And it didn't go well. We could have left right away and it wouldn't have gone well, right?
Yeah.
We gave it right back to the people who were in charge.
Yeah.
So
hopefully we got our batteries out of it, though.
That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. All you got.
Well, like...
No. No.
Yeah. We didn't edit this video. We pre-edited Gabe before we started. So we're not cutting anything out of that. We're just cutting out Gabe's actual wants and desires. I will say this about 9/11. 9/11 happens to be the Boutros Scotty Pizza's birthday.
Yeah, that was my worst birthday ever.
I couldn't even get Bob Dylan.
Yeah, I got an Xbox and I couldn't enjoy it.
Yeah.
I do have one more thing.
Yeah.
I know. I remember where I was when the towers fell.
Okay.
Sleeping.
Really?
Yeah. Justin Goebel's ex-wife woke me up.
It was like fucking 2 in the afternoon.
It was like
it?
10 o'clock.
Oh, okay.
No, it was very early in the morning.
Oh, so I forget that I was at work at like 4.
Yeah, it's a golf course maintenance. You get out early.
Yeah. And so they attacked on your birthday.
Yep.
And America fights back on my birthday.
Yep.
Booyah.
That's when we invaded?
Yeah.
The attack, the invasion?
Yep. So my birthday, we got attacked. His birthday, they got it back.
Fuck off. Couldn't attack my brother's birthday.
What a bunch of crap!
All right, let's move on from there. Interesting in the world of TV, this is kind of, again, we're getting this shift in where TV has been forever, sitcoms, this formulaic 90s stuff, and then a shifting of the guard. And we're going to start right off. We might as well talk because we talked about war a little bit, but Band of Brothers actually premieres in the year 2001. And Gabe, I know you're a huge fan of Band of Brothers.
Yeah, Band of Brothers is an all-time great miniseries.
Yeah,
right?
and you're a World War II dad.
I'm a World War II dad. Debuted September 9th, 2001.
Oh.
So it was right there, right in the time to be patriotic.
Yeah, sure.
This miniseries on
Okay,
us.
well now I believe all the conspiracy theories.
But no, Band of Brothers was a miniseries about World War II.
Brought to you by the same people that did Saving Private Ryan.
It was Tom Hanks and Spielberg as the executive producers.
Yep.
And it followed a Easy Company of the 101st, one of the battalions of the 101st Airborne. And it was it's dramatized, or whatever the word is.
Yep.
But this unit actually did participate in D-Day, Market Garden, Battle of the Bulge. They liberated a concentration camp, and they were the first guys in the Eagle's Nest, one of Hitler's compounds.
Yep.
So they just kind of hit all the major points of the American involvement in the European war for it.
Yeah, and it is really interesting because the show is a little disconnected because of that, right? Because there's a lot of downtime in war, right?
Yeah, if you're not fighting, you're sitting around waiting to fight.
Yes, yeah. And so, you got to kind of keep the plots interesting and then continue to watch this group move. But I did really like that there's also a lot of behind the scenes stuff that happened because of, Saving Private Ryan was huge. So then not just do they make the TV show, but there's so much behind the scenes stuff where they talk about all this other things that happened in World War II. Mm-hmm. It's essentially a documentary with reenactment happening as well.
That's one thing I really enjoy is like at either the intro or the extra of every episode, they have actually one of these guys from Easy Company talking about his experience that was in that episode.
Yeah. That's very Ken Burns-ish. Feels very much of
there
that.
was no panning though.
Yeah, just slowly pushing in. But yeah, Band of Brothers, great show. Very well worth the binge. I think it is
10.
all on. It's what?
10 episodes.
10 episodes, yeah, and then
Hour
they did
a pop.
Roughly.
about that, yeah. So it's a jaunt, but really good. And then they did the Pacific follow up to that. So you can get all your World War II goodness from there. But it is interesting because I don't think something like this gets made prior to that time frame. This is a very different TV show to have come out. I mean, there had been miniseries before, I remember my mom watching a North versus South type of thing. I don't even remember what the show was called, but there were miniseries that would come up every once in a while that were war type stuff. But this is a very beefy thing to have come out.
And professionally done. Like it's Spielberg, right? So it kind of set the tone that you can do a 10 episode series and be successful.
Yes.
You don't have to have 26 episode seasons and go for 7 seasons.
Yep. And so the reason I want to bring that up is because this is it is the changing of the guard in television, not just from, we had Jackass and Survivor the year before, but TV was very much episodic and it was very much set up because the money was in syndication. So you create a show, you make its run, you make your money while it airs, but the real money is in then selling it to all these television stations that are out there, and they run it. The UPNs of the world run syndication, and that's where you get your big money. It just continues. It's evergreen. It's the idea of evergreen content from like YouTube. You want these things to be out there, but because of that, they needed to be digestible as one piece. So UPN doesn't have to run the full gamut. They can just pick and choose which episodes are good.
Right. You can play any episode of
Friends
that you want, and people will know what's going on.
And people will know what's going on, and they'll consume it. So television had really built itself to be that. This is when DVDs are really starting to become prevalent. Your PlayStation 2s that came out and pushed DVDs into the mainstream. At this point, Band of Brothers feels much like a show that can then be binged. And it is the starting of binging because people are now buying DVDs of box sets of shows. And so moving forward from this, you're getting the next show on our list, which is 24. I don't think a show like 24 exists if there isn't the ability to sell that afterwards
as a complete package,
which comes from the DVD package of it, because 24 is a show that is the complete opposite, and this was wild at the time. People had tried to do stuff like this before. You had like your soap operas and whatnot,
right?
But not a big show tentpole. During the prime time.
Right.
And
you have to watch it.
Have to.
At the time it's on.
Yep.
So that you know what's going on so that you can watch the next episode.
Yep. Because, spoiler alert, it's called 24 because every episode is 1 hour of 24 hours. 24.
Previously on 24.
And I may be wrong about that. Maybe it's 48 episodes. I don't know. I just assume it's 24.
That's when every episode ends with the clock.
Yes.
Ding.
It does.
Not only every episode, every commercial.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure if I remember correctly.
That would be tough on DVD then.
The commercial would come to that. I mean, it is what it is. You like it. It's the countdown. But a very cool show. Kiefer Sutherland plays Jack Bauer, if I remember correctly.
Sounds right.
Yeah, and he's a counterterrorist guy. Also, 2001 counterterrorism.
Need it.
And there's a plot to do something. It involves the president at first, but I think it gets bigger, if I remember correctly. But we would be amiss if we did not say who the president of the United States of America in the show 24 is.
Who is that?
That's our good buddy, Pedro.
Listen, cute your boo. I do it myself.
Yes. Still haven't learned his name.
Don't
Say his name, Dave.
You know what? I almost shouldn't say his name because we had one guy just go off about
Pedro Serrano.
Pedro Serrano is the actual the president of the United States of America in the show 24.
Well, that's the American dream.
That is the American dream. I agree. But if you're going back and watching television at this time, it's just really interesting to watch that shift into something that like Japanese culture at that time had done tons of this. All their stuff was seasons of entire runs that you would watch one episode after the other. And that kind of bled in when you had, like your Adult Swim type stuff where we started bringing over animes and stuff. But prior to that, there just wasn't a lot of this happening. And I don't know, were you guys fans of the show?
Heard of it.
I caught a tiny little bit of it.
Okay.
It seemed interesting.
I was a big
but
fan.
It wasn't up my alley at the time. I was 13, 14.
A little young for it. I loved it. I absolutely loved this show. I thought it was fantastic. It falls apart at the end, like most things do. And it gets really melodramatic.
Yeah.
But it was just a cool idea, like a show that I have to come back and watch. I have to come back and watch it.
It's a great premise.
Yeah. Dennis Haysbert
Is the president.
Never heard of him.
is the president. Well, you have now.
What's he in?
I immediately forgot.
He's the president.
No, he's the Allstate insurance guy.
Okay, you guys are morons.
Just a bit outside. He tried the corner and missed.
The other thing that is happening at this point is we've had Jackass, we've had Survivor. We're now almost a decade into Real World, which started in 1992.
Holy moly.
Yeah, so we're 9 years into Real World. And what starts happening is, which I think is very interesting, is you start getting the mockumentary style shows now. So the next one on our list is Trailer Park Boys.
Yes.
Love it.
I was not aware of Trailer Park Boys because this was a Canadian show. Were you guys aware of it at that time?
No.
No, not until like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I don't think anybody caught it until Netflix. But I think we would be crazy to not bring up the fact that in 2001, Trailer Park Boys premiered. How do you guys feel about the show? Because it's mockumentary style as a TV show. Interesting to note that the first season of the UK Office was also 2001. So across the pond in two areas, but not North America.
Both under the crown.
Yep, both under the crown. We've got the mockumentary style stuff. But you guys went back and watched some of the episodes of this. I went back and watched the whole first episode, or the whole first.
Wow. Congratulations.
First episode, the whole first season. And I really enjoyed it. How did you guys feel about it?
I did not enjoy it as much as I did when I first watched it 10-ish years ago. But it's a fun show.
It's a fun show. It has like 19 seasons or something.
18, I think.
Yeah. I haven't caught the last few. My wife doesn't like it, so
it's a lot of yelling.
I know.
It's a lot of yelling.
It's a lot of yelling and
It is.
shooting and
Yeah.
but no, it's great. It's like these sets the tone right away. They're in jail. They get out of jail.
It's a great first episode.
And they're immediately up to shenanigans.
Immediately. They don't even get home. Actually, no, I take that back because one of them wants to eschew the criminal lifestyle, but yet is in no way eschewing the criminal lifestyle.
No, still wants to be the boss of the park.
Yeah. So I found it really interesting. I watched the whole first season and then the first episode of season 2. And I will say season 2 is when it starts to get its groove.
Sure.
This first season is very much like some guys took some cameras and went and made a show.
Right.
I found it really interesting that Ricky and Julian are the two main characters. Julian is the one that the documentary is supposedly following. And then Ricky is just his friend that he can't get away from.
Yeah, just sleeps in his car in his driveway.
And that show totally changes because even Bubbles isn't predominant until maybe the last episode of the first season.
Right. And in later seasons, there's a lot of Bubbles specific episodes.
Right from the beginning of episode 1 in season 2, Bubbles is a main character. So they realized afterwards that you got to lean into this guy. I found it very interesting. I liked it because, again, it felt like something you could make.
Right.
Right. I just watched, I'm trying to remember who it was. It was Dave Grohl talking about when he grew up, he had all these posters of like Led Zeppelin and Iron Maiden and other people on his wall. And to him, like that was unattainable. You can't go be a rock star. And then he went and saw some shitty band play for 15 people with puke and shit all over the floor. And he's like, this is rock and roll.
I could do that.
I can do that. And that's what this feels like to me. This is the time frame when
puke and shit all over the floor.
He
was in Seattle.
It was
in 2022.
I think he does say puke. I think he does say puke and piss. But anyways, but this is how this felt to me. Having watched it again, this is what made me fall in love with like TV and movies. Is like this feels obtainable. This feels like something you could make. And enjoyable. I think it's funny.
Surprisingly well acted.
Yeah.
Like it catches me off guard all the time.
Yes.
These people that are clearly just your friends or just people you got off the street.
Yeah.
And there's not really many moments that you're taken out of it.
So I would have thought that the main actors would have been that way, and then the subsequent, smaller roles would have gotten worse and worse.
Yeah.
I didn't think that.
No, everybody's pretty believable.
Yeah.
And the most outlandishly kind of believable character is J-Rock.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we all knew that
Who
guy.
is this guy?
Yeah.
He's called Nate Lee.
That's a joke for 10 people.
Yep. It's only funny if only I get it.
I loved J-Rock's character.
Yeah.
They just gave this guy a caricature and he rode with it so hard. He did a great job. I love that character.
You know what I'm saying? Everybody walking on the face of the earth trying to judge a J-Rock. You know what I'm saying?
Saying, know what I'm saying, too many times. 80 or 90 times? That's too many times. Once or twice is cool, but 80 or 90 times, man?
What are you, from the Department of Noam Sands? You taking the Noam Sense?
I think it's interesting that those are the guys you think are just going to fall flat on their face, and none of them do.
No.
All of them seem to do very well. I was actually really surprised by his girlfriend, Ricky's girlfriend, who I was like, she's going to be awful. Because if you remember, go back and watch the beginning of Curb Your Enthusiasm, Cheryl is fucking terrible.
She's terrible the whole time.
But she's
the true villain.
But if you go back to the beginning of that show, man, she couldn't act her way out of a paper bag.
Really?
And I was surprised that it was like Ricky's girlfriend, who you think is just a throwaway character. You're like, she's not going to be anything. And she was all right.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay.
That's what I mean.
For people just in a trailer park with cameras that...
Just being mad at your baby dad. She nailed it.
She did a great job. I think it's good. We did a matchup of this versus the UK office. And I was surprised Trailer Park Boys destroyed the UK office.
I feel like the UK office isn't very popular.
It's not very
here.
It's not, but at the same time, like it's okay. I think that's crazy. Like UK, 2 seasons and done. That's just how television works over there.
Yep.
Or did.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the UK office. But I mean, what Ricky Gervais created there and what he set the tone for when they Americanized it for the American office, amazing format for a television show.
It feels like you're watching a pilot that is 2 seasons, right? It's like this is the pilot for the US version.
Yep.
But it's 2 seasons of it, and I don't know, it's interesting. The other shows that I want to throw out real quick was that you've got your Survivor. Fox jumps in with Temptation Island.
Yeah, I don't remember this at all.
So you don't remember it. I didn't look it up, so I may be completely wrong about this.
Tell me about it.
But if I remember correctly, the premise of this show was you got Survivor, that we're Fox. We're going to take couples, and then we're going to separate them onto 2 separate islands. At least in the show, I think they made it look like 2 separate islands. They're probably just in the same hotel on different days. And then we're just going to surround them with hot people and see if they get fucked.
Coming this January, the most daring reality show ever. 4 unmarried couples will put their relationships to the ultimate test.
This is the determining factor if we're going to stay together or not.
When they're sent to a tropical paradise and separated from their partners, now 26 sexy single men and women chosen just for them are waiting to seduce them.
This could rip two people apart.
They thought it was a game.
I didn't expect this level of temptation.
But they had no idea how far it would go.
I'm in heaven right now.
Now I'm in hell.
Temptation Island. Watch it with someone you think you love. Coming Wednesday, January 10th to Fox.
So it's just a show of, hey, your wife's over here. She's over here with Mark. Mark's hot.
Have you seen Mark?
Have you seen Mark? She's getting fucked. Here's Cheryl. You want to fuck Cheryl? Your wife's probably fucking Mark. That's literally all the show is. It's just them convincing each other that their spouse is fucking someone else and then trying to get them to fuck other people. That is a fantastic premise for a good TV show.
Yeah, I should bring it back.
Yeah, it's a great idea.
Now that we're married, let's bring that back.
So in the middle of watching terrible music videos, you had sent a text about that, and I said, "What the f- is that?"
Yeah.
And so I did a search on YouTube to find some clips for it, and I think I watched about 4 seconds of one. I was like, I'm out.
It's as bad as it. I think
out,
it is the start of really bad reality television. Okay, the other one I'm just going to throw out is Scrubs. You guys like Scrubs?
I did enjoy Scrubs.
It's okay.
I didn't watch a ton of it.
It's a good show.
It's a good show. Again, back to you can watch any episode and you're watching an episode. And you don't really need much more than that.
It was almost a cartoon.
Yeah, it is a cartoon.
It
is a cartoon.
Cartoony of a sitcom, of a live action sitcom.
It's fun.
But it was fun. It was funny. A lot of good funny jokes.
A lot of good jokes.
No Superman.
All right, let's go to video games real quick. We got about 10 minutes left before we got to go pick up our kids. So let's chat real quick about video games. So the year 2000, 2001, I've got it sitting in front of us here. 2000 was the year that the PlayStation came out. 2001 brought us 2 landmark video game systems. I have them both sitting in front of you, and the reason I have them is
look at how big the fucking Xbox is.
The Xbox. There's the Xbox and the GameCube. I have the GameCube conveniently sitting on top of the Xbox because the Xbox is gigantic.
Yeah,
okay,
it's so powerful.
So Gabe, I just want you to pick it up. Pick that baby.
I can't.
No, I think it'll break your wrist. Pick that baby up. It's unbelievable how big the original Xbox is. It's basically the size of original PCs. Remember the PCs with the giant boxes?
Yeah.
On
its side.
And then of course I've got the GameCube, which is the complete opposite. Just tiny.
A little dainty.
Petite, tiny.
It's got a little handle.
It's got a handle, a little lunchbox looking thing. This is interesting because there were always your wars, Sega versus Nintendo, Nintendo versus Sony. And then it was Xbox versus GameCube. And
because Sony had won.
Sony had won.
It was over.
Oh yeah. Sony was way ahead.
Okay, fighting for number 2.
Fighting for number 2.
And it was the Dreamcast.
The Xbox was marketed to be cool. Just friggin' oozed cool.
Yeah. It's got an X in it.
It's got an X in it. Yeah.
2 even.
And it's black.
And it's black. Pretty cool though, actually.
Yeah.
I will say that the Xbox is actually pretty cool, specifically because of Xbox Live, games online, which was a huge thing that didn't really exist at the time.
Right.
It was just getting started, and they pioneered it and perfected it.
They did.
And the other systems did not. I would say of all
Nintendo still can't do it, right?
Nintendo still can't do it. I would say of these 2 systems, the system that I love more is the GameCube because there's way more games for it that are fantastic.
You just have the Nintendo franchise.
You do, yeah. And they did a great job. They had all the hits. They ran the hits, and they had all of them. Plus it has, and I brought this is the Wavebird controller. It is the version of the controller that was wireless, and it is still my favorite controller of all time.
I also very much enjoy it. Did you bring the original Xbox controller, please?
Now I think there is an original.
Lift it.
I think there is an original
It was
Xbox
like a
controller.
beach ball.
I think there is one at our dad's house.
Yeah.
However, I could not get out there to get it, so I stopped by Play and Trade video games right before we came over here, and I said, Jesse, shout out to Jesse, I need a Duke, and Jesse says, "Oh, I got you covered." It's funny when you can just say, "I need a Duke," and the video game guy knows you're talking about the original Xbox controller. I had to bring it. It is absurd.
Oh my God, I haven't held one of these in so long. It is awful.
You have to be a grown man.
You have to be a grown man. Well, and it's funny because it actually did poor sales in Japan because the controller was too
of their
big.
dainty little hands.
And that's so funny. Like,
Good Lord.
we talk about racism, and then we're just like, they can't even handle that big Duke. They actually made a smaller controller for the Japanese market, and then
Even
finally,
the cord plug-in.
and then eventually released the smaller version in the US, and that's just what they've used moving forward. They haven't changed that controller much since then. But yeah, how do you like that thing? The Duke.
I had forgotten how bad it was.
It's huge.
It's just a monster.
Well, Gabe, you brought up the Dreamcast, and that's the deal with this was that Microsoft was involved with making the Dreamcast with Sega.
Okay.
It actually runs off of Windows, I believe. And so this controller is very reminiscent of that controller for the Dreamcast, only then
Much larger.
taking it up another notch.
It's like a fucking UFO.
Isn't it crazy how big that controller is?
Yes, it's a monstrosity.
I am so glad that he had one. I go, Jesse, you got to help me out, bro. Because if we're gonna talk Xbox, I need that response from these two of having the Duke in your hands. But let's talk just super fast. Any games that you had from either system that you really enjoyed? Obviously, Halo was what you played on the Xbox.
Halo was revolutionary.
Yes,
absolutely revolutionary.
Yep. Yeah, I brought one game. I brought Crimson Skies.
Of course you did.
Because if this is from 2002, but this is the game that I associate with the original Xbox. It was Halo. If you were,
it's like
in airplanes.
Uncharted in airplanes.
It is a lot like Uncharted for the future audience. This is if the 1940s took place when the Germans won and Zeppelins are still around. So this is the show Tailspin. Only without blue. Your guy is, I think his name is even Nathan, if I remember correctly. But it's just kind of a fun little game. You could do 16-player death matches, flying in planes. A lot of fun. I really enjoyed this game. This is the one that when people ask me about the original Xbox, that's the one I bring up. And then for the GameCube, I did bring Rogue Leader, which is Rogue Squadron 2, and I brought it because it's basically the GameCube's version of Crimson Skies,
kind of.
Only fantastic, and one with
some X-wings.
But the Crimson Skies is like, there's a story to it.
Yep.
That, and you can like stop at places and visit your friend so and so. Whereas Rogue Squadron was just battles.
Yeah,
you're just recreating the battles from Star Wars.
Yep, it's Star Wars where you redo all the battles you've already fought 1,000 times in the first Rogue Squadron. Even,
but now it's on the GameCube and it looks really good.
So what's funny is people back in the day thought that the Xbox was just ungodly powerful. The GameCube is so absurdly powerful for that time frame compared to a PlayStation. These two consoles are worlds beyond what the PlayStation was doing. And then Gabe says the Dreamcast. You put the Dreamcast next to these two, and you're not even in the same boat.
Do they have Crazy Taxi?
They do on GameCube.
Oh, do they?
GameCube had all the Sega games, which was awesome. So, well, we pretty much got to get out of here. The last thing I want to talk about just super fast, because I wanted to talk about this in 2000, but it's better in 2001 because there's a little game company called EA Big.
Yes.
EA Sports.
Big. And they came out with in 2001 SSX Tricky.
Welcome to SSX Tricky. This is going to be fun.
So let's finish this episode by talking about what is potentially the greatest snowboarding game that will ever be made. And
until SSX 3.
You say that. However, it was also on all three systems. So you could get on the PlayStation, you could get on the GameCube, you could get it on the Xbox. And EA Big really revolutionized sports gaming in this time frame.
They did.
For the decade.
Yeah.
About 8 years.
About 8 years, as we found.
Yeah.
Scott, give me the rundown on EA Big, just in terms of who was this guy that came up with this concept?
He was a skier?
Yeah. He was a champion, a world champion skier.
Like alpine skier.
Alpine skier who said, I want to make a snowboarding game and I'm going to make it ludicrous. And so he goes on and makes this game that then absolutely revolutionizes EA. They create their own division of EA.
Right.
And it goes on for 7 years. What did we say, 8 years? 8 years. And you had SSX Tricky, Freak Style. You had the NFL and NBA Street games.
Yes.
It totally changed the way that people were playing games at that time because it went from your 1080 snowboarding, which was like kind of realistic, a little more realistic. You know, you can do a 1080, but it's going to be fucking work.
Yeah, you have to know your combos and
to SSX Tricky, where you're literally unstrapping the board and flipping it around and putting it back on your
How
feet.
many moves can you do at one giant jump?
And then taking that concept and putting it to dirt bikes and taking it and putting it to, more importantly, the NFL and the NBA.
And soccer. They had FIFA Street too. I never played the FIFA Street, but both NFL and NBA Streets 1 and 2, I put hundreds of hours into those games.
Yeah, great games. And I think they deserve more. We should do a whole episode just on EA Sports.
We could.
I think we should.
We could. They had they had a great run, and then they just.
It was one of those things where the guy got tired of dealing with the brass, and then he cut out. So you've got this revolutionary guy that's like, we're going to shake it up, shakes it up, and then you get the marketing people that are coming in, because it's a great story. The marketing people come in and they basically go like, we need, and it's never a good idea. Anything that is this in the clinch, if the marketing people are coming to you with it, it's going to fucking suck. And so that's what happened with those guys, and it totally changed everything. But I would say it went through the entire generation.
Yeah.
And probably bled into the 360 and the PS3 as well a little bit.
Did it? I don't remember.
I think it
any
did
of
a
that.
little bit, but it kind of petered out at that point. All right, so that's the end of 2001. I think it's a great way to end. We went from the beginning of the year all the way right to the very end when you're getting Christmas and you're getting your Xbox and you're getting your GameCube. If you're out there looking for GameCube games you should play, the original Luigi's Mansion is fun. I love Mario Sunshine. I freaking love it. That's one of my favorite games. And then you get the nerdy stuff as well that we won't talk about because I don't want to embarrass myself.
You don't want to say Super Monkey Ball.
Super Monkey Ball is so much fun. We played so much Super Monkey Ball. That's what we played when people came over. We played so much Super Monkey Ball. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is the year 2000. Thank you to the Boutros.
Yeah.
Thank you to Gabe.
Thank you.
And thank you to the listeners. We will be back next week with the full-on movies of 2001. And I think that's going to be a lot of fun. I've been looking up a lot of those. So, but if you've still got time, go ahead and shoot that over to us, what you'd like to see us talk about for 2001 movies. And with that, we're done.
So after 9/11,
oh God,
no, my like
yes,
one of the coolest things is the World Series was going on.
Yep,
and they canceled the game. And the next game, they brought George W. Bush out for the first pitch. He goes onto the rubber, not in front of the mound. He goes onto the rubber and just dials a strike. Just throws a fucking dart.
One of the best.
The best first pitch ever.
Yep, yeah, one of the best.
America.
America.
When it seems like all is lost. When it feels as if you have no hope. When you are outnumbered, overpowered, and they've got you cornered. That's when you realize your last best hope is you. Halo, Combat Evolved, rated M for mature.